Welcome to Legacy Cast, your source for hearing from top influencers, industry experts, and successful business owners who are telling their unique story about life, values, goals, business strategies, and the various causes they are so passionate about. Future generations will come to be impacted by what is happening today, whether positive or negative, and our mission is to focus on what is going to affect change for the better. Hosted each weekday by James Snow, a former U.S. Army combat medic, now founder and principal advisor of James Advisors Group, a full-service financial planning firm in North Texas. This is Legacy Cast. Welcome, Legacy Cast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, welcoming you to the program where we speak to people from all around the world, actually, talking to them every weekday to discuss things that they're doing in their lives that are really writing their story their way so that other people will know that they lived, and also the things that they care about and who they influenced in the process. I have with me today a gentleman by the name of Tim Starr, and I'd like to welcome you to the program, Tim.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Tim, maybe kind of as we get started here, just tell us a little bit about what you do so that the listeners can kind of have a bit of an idea there.
All right. I am a speaker and an author. I've got a couple of books in the law of attraction arena. Big fan of the Esther Hicks and Abraham materials. Basically, what I'm doing is trying to bring some of the ideas that saved me from a lot of grief and anxiety to other people.
That sounds really good. Certainly as influencers and mentors, that's really what it's all about. Is it's the best way to learn is through failure, but even better than that is to learn through somebody else's mistakes, and then you don't have to feel the pain from it. So yeah. It's certainly good to get that shortcut.
I've got an analogy for that if you want to hear it.
Hey, shoot. All
right. Well, there's a lion, a fox, and a donkey, and they teamed up to go hunting for rabbits, and they're running through the forest all day long and killing rabbits, and they pile them all up into one big pile. And at the end of the day, the lion turns to the donkey and says, "Okay, divide up the rabbits. And we're going to go lay down over here and wait for you." So the donkey makes 3 even piles of rabbits, and he goes and finds the lion, says, "Okay, I divided the rabbits." The lion comes back, takes one look, kills the donkey, and eats them. Turns to the fox and says, "Okay, you divide up the rabbits." And the fox puts them back into one big pile. He takes one little scraggly one off to the side for himself. He goes back to the lion. "I divided up the rabbits." Lion comes back and takes a look and says, "Well, how'd you learn to count so well?" And the fox says, "I learned it from the donkey." Point being, let somebody else be the donkey.
Yep. Very true. Very true. Good analogy. Well, I enjoyed that one. So with the program, as the name implies, we do like to talk about legacy and what that means to people. Obviously, it doesn't have to mean just financial things. It also is what we're teaching the next generation, or the things that we're doing, maybe our volunteer work, or our charitable contributions and so forth. It's the things that are creating waves in the pond, so to speak. It's creating those ripples that are going to carry all the way across. But what does having a legacy mean to you, Tim?
That's a good question, because I'm not sure I know what it means to me to have a legacy. I know that what I want to do is to, it's cliche, I want to change the world.
Okay.
But what has come to me is that I'm not, changing the world doesn't mean you have to go out and be the next Steve Jobs or Warren Buffett, or you don't have to move mountains to change the world. I had an experience where I did a couple of presentations at a school for at-risk kids in Riverside, California. And we got onto the topic of the Think and Grow Rich book, Napoleon Hill, and the ideas in there, and the idea that it's on like every top CEO's must-read list, but there's nothing about business in the book. And so we were talking about this idea of, what you think about can help shape your future. And I saw that this is the first time some of these kids had ever heard this idea. And you start to see the wheels turning, and the eyes are like go up, and they're thinking, and then I was approached afterwards by a couple of people, and I left that saying, I want to do more of that, because I realized that kid in the front row who got that little smile on his face, I just changed the world in some tiny little way. And he may or may not do anything much with it, but that's how us regular folk can do it.
Yeah, and oftentimes it even is something as simple as just planting the seed. Like what you're explaining there. You plant that seed, and then it's going to be watered by life experience, and then at some point that seed is going to sprout, and it's going to start it's going to grow roots, and then get bigger and bigger, and it can become something great. And so that really is one of the truest forms and definitions, I think, of legacy is when we're planting seeds, and then it's going to turn into something bigger, so that in turn he will be planting seeds later. And so the example of that student you're talking about, that's one of the good ways that we can look at it. Do you feel that people should or should not put a lot of energy or active consideration into what they're doing that's going to create that resounding effect on other people?
I think that if you have a clear intention for what you want to do, and you're in process of doing things that are creating a better you, that the people that you touch along the way are going to be affected in the right way anyway. And so I don't really think that you need to worry about that you really need to put a lot of attention on that. I think it's always good to be mindful of how you're interacting with people, but I don't think it's the primary focus.
Okay, and as far as with you as a business, you're mentioning that you've written some books. How do you correlate your impact on other people into what you're doing as far as being an author?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you give me that in a different way, or? Is
your writing book something that is kind of your way of leaving that legacy for yourself? Leaving something behind that's going to help people grow.
Yes, but it was not an intentional thing to begin with.
Okay.
My first book was an idea that came to me and it wouldn't go away, and so I sat down to see where it would go, and half of it just came all at once. And then the second book really is a compilation of blog posts that I did over a course of, I think, about 4 years. And what I was doing with that was trying to wrap my head around some of the ideas I was bringing in and consuming, and it gets noisy in there sometimes,
Yeah, I understand that one. The brain runs at 100 miles an hour, and so sometimes those ideas just flood in.
Yeah.
So as far as from a business standpoint, though, if you're looking at your business model as a CEO, what would you say maybe a few things are that you're concerned about or keep you up at night, as they say? Are there a few things, or what would you say?
I'm very much in the beginning of my process, but so I don't know if I could wear the label CEO very comfortably, but I'm the things that concern me are presenting the message that I want to present in as clear a way as possible, so that it's not misinterpreted on the receiver's end. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about that, but
sure.
that's the kind of thing that that concerns me.
Okay. Do you believe that strategy is something that people should invest a lot of energy in? Coming up with a strategy, both on a personal level and a business level.
I think it makes excuse me. I think it makes sense. Some people fly by the seat of their pants pretty well. But I think, in business, you get to a certain size and you can't do that anymore.
Right.
There comes a point where if you're in a business that's, let's say, a one-person business, and you get to where there's just too many plates to juggle, and you can't grow anymore. Your income is going to level off. It's time to take the next step up and hire somebody to take care of some of those things so that you can focus on the stuff that actually makes you money. So in that sense, yeah, I think it's important to sort of plan at what levels maybe you need to make the adjustments to what you're doing. On a personal level, yeah, it certainly makes sense there too. Most of us, I think, tend to just bump through life and deal with whatever comes along as it comes along versus trying to look forward and be proactive about stuff that's happening. We're all going to get older, but most of us don't really plan for it.
That's true. That's true. And unfortunately, in the world I'm in, I see that kind of firsthand with other people and helping them with their finance. Is something I see a lot that they did not give that consideration and then reach a certain point and discover I wish I had done this 20, 30 years earlier.
Right.
What do you think for other business owners though? What do you think some of the reasons are that they either fail in their efforts or they give up? Do you have an opinion on that?
I think, failing, it kind of depends on how it comes. Depending on who you talk to and depending on your situation, I guess, there's a lot of people that are big on failing fast, which makes sense. If you're trying something new and, it's a question mark, then if it's not going to work, you want to know as fast as you can so that you can drop it and move on to the next thing. If you've been in business for a little while or you buy somebody else's business that's been around for a little while and suddenly you're struggling, then failure is not something that you ought to be even expecting at that point. Then it's time to look at the systems and processes you have in place, or sometimes it's a mindset thing. I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that question.
Well, that sounds pretty good. So just from your experience, though, are there specific roadblocks that you would warn somebody about that's wanting to start up something that you discovered?
There's more than, well, first of all, they're going to come. Right? It's something that we all hear, but we tend to sort of not accept, I guess, is that the road to success is not a straight line. You're going to have failures. You're going to have things that come up no matter how well prepared you are. And then when they do show up, there's more than one way to beat them normally. The old adage of there's more than one way to skin a cat. But a lot of people tend to, it's like if you're driving a car down the road and suddenly there's a wall, they want to just bang against the wall and back up and bang against the wall again. But, where if they just looked off to the side, there's a gravel drive around it, So sometimes we can get really hung up on, I've got this problem. I've got to fix it. But the opportunities are all around you. But if you don't look up from the grinding wheel and look for them, then, you don't see them.
Sure. And well stated there. So maybe some different resources that you've come across for perhaps somebody that's wanting to do what you're doing that you would point out to them, different resources or support